Hey everybody, it's Patty,
And Al.
the professional lovers in training, and another week of Married at First Sight. Not a whole lot went on tonight, but a couple of very significant things. Tonight, they got together with family and friends, which they hadn't done since the wedding. And one thing I noticed with 3 out of the 5 couples, it was evident in the interaction between the families and friends and the couples that the women had talked about issues that they had with their spouses so far. Mm-hmm. Taylor talked to her friends, mm-hmm. and Mindy talked to her friends, mm-hmm. and Katie talked to her friends. And of course, we know Brandon's blow up. We know Zach's issues not being in the
Actually,
apartment.
We don't know what Zach's issues are, but he has them.
But so that made for some awkward mm-hmm. encounters. And, you know, in our book, and you know, we always come from the book, Becoming a Professional Lover, there is a tip that says loyalty is to one's marriage and family. And it's really talking about how to deal with issues between your spouse and your family, or your spouse and your friends.
Internally.
Now, of course, we know this is very different. They've only been married for 2 weeks, mm-hmm. and so there's not much loyalty per se.
True.
That is there. But one thing to bring out for anyone married, when you tell the negative aspects or problems or issues that you and your spouse are going through to family, which is natural to confide
at one time or another
in best friends or your parents or a sibling, mm-hmm. you're leaving that negative perception with that friend or mm-hmm. family member from then on. So me and Al having a spat, and I go and tell all about what he did and what, you know, he didn't do and what that made me feel like to my family or friends. And then he and I resolve that mm-hmm. issue.
Work through it.
Right? But
then we go hang out.
We move past it.
Right.
But your family and friends that you brought into the issue
don't know that you've worked through it or worked past it or working on it or what level you are in it.
Or even if they do know you work past it, it still leaves a little sour mm-hmm. taste in their mouth about your spouse. So it's you got to be careful doing that selective. And bringing people into your issues to take sides or whatever the case may be, because your first loyalty is to each other.
Spouse,
right, to each other and the family that you create. And if there are issues with outside family members, then you need to deal with your family, mm-hmm. or you need to talk to your husband about what those issues are, and not your family.
And again, in this situation is very awkward because, again, you don't have much of a loyalty with your spouse, and this is your support system that you've had for years. So you are definitely more comfortable in speaking with them and letting them know, you know, where you're at. But you definitely have to safeguard the sanctity of your union with your spouse a little bit more, I guess, concretely than you do with your now outside relationships, mm-hmm. because this is the closest relationship that you should ever have.
And kudos to Taylor for being willing to reset mm-hmm. with Brandon, although toward the end of the the show, she was talking about it again, and her friends didn't pull any punches when they were together, and he handled it. Mm-hmm. He took it. His aunt kind of took up for him. Not saying that he was right in what he
She
did.
said that he was wrong.
Wrong, because
But it
wrong
was
is
not
wrong.
the Brandon that she knows.
Right.
So.
And then Taylor took up for him. Supported him.
We've reset.
In his mistake and their decision to move forward. And so forgiveness is really, really important.
Critical.
It is very important. Because that forgiveness saves marriages. And the only thing I would say is that Brandon, of course, is tired of hearing about his mistake. But he says something very key in that it is what it is, and he'll just roll with it. And when you have been the offender, you can't decide how fast the healing process is supposed to take place.
True. By the person that you have offended.
Right. And the person who's offended doesn't need to keep bringing it up. If you're really forgiven, then you're saying, I forgive you, which means that I'm going to move past it.
Right.
But nobody can determine how long that takes to happen.
True.
Okay, so if as the offender, you are tempted to say things that suggest you need to get over it, you need to hurry up, then you're
Let's move on.
Yeah, you're pulling the scab off of the wound and you're delaying the healing process.
But see, even in just the statements that we said, Patty said, you need to get over it, you need to move on, versus we need to get past this.
Right.
And as opposed to pointing your finger
or even thinking, what can I do as a person who offended to help us get past this.
Right. Because again, if you're in it together, you're in it together. And you deal with it together. So
so that was the issue for 3 of our couples. Michael and Mika seemed very positive this time. Michael realizing the need to be open and to change and compromise. But I think their most significant discussion was about their rings.
True.
Michael had taken off his ring during the honeymoon because in his mind he was failing as a husband. So wearing the ring seemed to not be conducive to how he was feeling. Right. But she made a good point about the ring symbolizing the commitment, their commitment to marriage. And so when marriage gets hard or when you're trying to work through an issue, are you going to keep just taking your ring off?
Yeah.
Because it's gotten difficult.
That's like, being immature and just kind of throwing out the word divorce when something goes wrong.
Right.
Which that should never be an option because that's not what you got into a marriage for. I mean, if you love a person and you're in love with a person, then again, as you know, any relationship is effort. And you have to put in the effort to get past whatever it is that's causing you to have your rift. But that's what should always be your intent, is to get through whatever it is you're going through.
Right.
And not to end anything other than the negative feeling that you're currently feeling.
So there is a tip here that says you motivate resolutions by never making divorce an option. And so, that is similar to that symbolism of wearing the ring. I'm wearing the ring because I'm committed to the relationship.
Exactly.
And to the work that has to be done.
Right.
Yeah. And that's a good segue into the fact that Mindy is showing her commitment to the process of Married at First Sight, which Zach, or Zach, as Mindy's friend calls him, has been struggling to do. But he had a little baby step breakthrough in tonight's show in that he put his ring back on.
True, yeah.
And he made the comment that really stood out to you, which was
that he was. See, unfortunately, I can't remember the word, but I mean, it was an
something like,
expression of his commitment.
Right, I can't let you be committed alone.
Exactly, that's what it was. I'm not going to let you be committed in this alone, and that to me was the most significant thing he had said out of everything. There was no circular thoughts in that.
Right.
You know,
it was very straightforward
that he was going to be supportive and be in this relationship. He didn't say how soon, he didn't say how strongly, he didn't say anything definitive other than the fact that he was going to be in it. And basically, that's what Mindy wants, him to be in it. At least see that he's in it. So I think just that one phrase was something that I think, you know, you could at least attempt to hang, you know.
Oh, she's hanging on to it.
Hang something on
some
to
type of evidence that he's not completely bailing.
She even was a little supportive, or she was a buffer for him when
and her friends. Because you can see that one friend. One friend is like, I don't trust him. He's saying all the pretty things that you want to hear, but I don't trust him at all.
She's ready to throw him under the bus, kick him to the curb, run over him, put it in reverse, run him over again, and be on your way.
And I can understand it. They're being protective of her, which they're supposed to be.
True.
But kudos to Mindy for showing patience and for allowing Zach to take his baby steps and for, you know, walking alongside him as he takes those baby steps. Let's see. Katie and Derek. Katie is very worried about Derek's love timeline.
Yeah. The fact that he's
his falling in love timeline.
The fact that he's 27 and he admittedly says that he's never been in love before.
Which his father said, that's not really a cool thing to say to somebody. That doesn't give somebody comfort. When you say that, which I liked. Dad told him the real deal, and then Katie's mom told her the real deal. Yeah. Don't set your expectations so high
that they're unachievable.
Right. And I really appreciated both parents, you know, coming at it real, and hopefully the two of them, you know, take that to heart.
Yeah.
Because Katie's kind of feeling like, okay, I gave up somebody that I was in love with. Who, though, didn't appear to have the same level of feeling until...
Otherwise, she shouldn't even be there.
Exactly. But in her mind, you know, I gave up somebody who I was in love with to be with someone who says he's not sure he can love me, be in love with me in 8 weeks.
I don't even consider that for the simple fact the relationship was over with.
Right.
He came back and said that he loved her because, as guys do... We're territorial, and suddenly somebody else, you falling in love with somebody else, or you're being committed to somebody else. Yeah, we want to prove to ourselves that I can get you back. I mean, so if you're not putting in the effort, words are trivial if the effort's not there.
Right. So hopefully they won't let those things derail them. And of course, you know, Derek talked about not having the same electricity, but his dad pointed out, you mean the adrenaline from all the hype that happened over the past 2 weeks.
That's why they call it a honeymoon.
Right. And so there's no substance. Well, in 2 weeks' time, there's not a whole lot of substance. This is where you're building the substance that most people do before they get married.
True.
So again, you know, don't set unrealistic expectations. And that's also a flag in depending on your feeling to define what love or happiness is. That you're depending on your feelings to determine, am I happy?
Level of your relationship.
Oh, right. And you can't do that. You cannot. The feelings are fleeting.
Truly.
Feelings are You know.
Feelings are a heart monitor. They go up and down.
Right.
If they don't go up and down, you're not alive, just like your heart. If you're not going up and down, you're not alive, you're not in it. And yeah, I mean, that's what a relationship is all about. You know, the day in and day out commonalities, the changes, the, you know, injections of abstract things that, you know, you try to create something different, and a lot of times it's great, sometimes it's not. But that's what it is. That's the everyday living or the lifeblood of a relationship.
Right. And of course, another tip in our book here says that love is a commitment.
Yeah.
It is not a feeling. Feelings happen in love, but that's not what love is based on.
True.
And so, again, that's hopefully not having that same kind of adrenaline is not going to derail them from moving forward and working on creating that substance that they're looking for. So far, our, you know, the couple that seems to be having the least amount of issues is Jessica and Austin.
Yeah.
And I appreciate how they've been relating to each other. You know,
they're
Austin,
relating through effort.
Yeah, and Austin, you know, made dinner for Jess and had it ready. And even though she got home later than she normally did and apparently didn't say, honey, I'm going to be late, he didn't make a big deal out of it. And she affirmed him
for
by
his efforts,
giving appreciation.
his kudos.
Yeah, for
doing what he did.
Yeah. And he's been trying to be more clean than his friends are used to seeing him.
Yeah.
So he's making an effort that way because he knows that that's how she is.
Right.
And so the way they're dealing with each other is...
and actually, he even said it when they made a little reference to, you know...
him making the bed.
Making his bed. And,
right. Which he never did.
You changed me, you know, which he does now, so...
And again, in our book, we have a tip that says, frequent words of praise keep happiness and joy alive. Even though your spouse may do things that are like normal, like I would expect you to do that, it doesn't hurt to acknowledge it.
True.
By saying, thank you, honey, for doing such and such. Thank you for making the bed. Yes, I would expect you to make the bed if you're like the last one there.
But don't
still,
take it for granted.
Yeah. Just hearing thank you for doing that makes a person feel...
It gives them incentive to continue to do it. You
Absolutely.
know, I mean, it's just like being a gentleman opening up the door. You know, yeah, it's not a chauvinistic thing. And then, yeah, with today's society of women being stronger and all of that, so what? But still, do it, you know, and don't allow yourself to be taken for granted, but do it.
I concur. And so that's really kind of it for tonight. So we're glad that you joined us. We hope that you're telling your friends. Thank you to those who have subscribed to our Professional Lover channel on YouTube.
And please continue to leave remarks and...
yeah, I'm enjoying responding to them.
Yeah.
And having a little dialogue back and forth about it. But yeah, share with any friends that you know in relationships, marriages. If you think that the tips that we share and how we kind of talk about the issues is helpful, then let other people know. And we look forward to seeing you here next week. Same time, same night. Peace.
Enjoy.